Fantastic. Laura, an absolute pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy morning, as I'm sure you are, to have a chat with us here at the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. Really looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Now,
I am
for
too.
our listeners around the world, first of all, yeah, for our listeners around the world, as usual, good morning, good evening, or good night, depending on where you are. And if you're catching the recording, of course, I'm happy that you're going to be with us. And today, as I mentioned, we're chatting to Laura Ballet. Is it ballet or ballet?
Ballet, like the dance.
Ballet, like the dance. Okay, Laura Ballet. I love that. And all about her new book, The Science of Empowerment. But before we get into that, as always, Laura, we'd love to hear a bit about your journey. What got you from sort of being a normal individual and then getting into wanting to help people?
Yes. Well, thank you. And I really am excited and I appreciate you taking the time to allow me on this platform to talk about the book. Most of what I am doing, very cool story, has been inspired by my brother, Chris. He is a former USA Olympic gymnastics coach, and he has raised Olympians his
Wow.
entire life. And my brother and I were raised in a very unique way. We had a lot of independence and we had our own unique journey. I would say how we look at consciousness and awareness to our place here in this particular experience. So my
Mm.
brother and I work together at a neuromuscular training facility, which is his, and I'm one of the trainers there. And I used to watch the mindset and the flow or the lack of flow of how people would kind of view their bodies and their health and then how they thought about
Mhm.
it. And I just wanted to find a very empowering way to show through compassion and strength, or vulnerability and strength, that they really were in the power seat of choice as to how they were
Mhm.
feeling and how their bodies were showing them what was going on inside. So from that, I just started to get into neuroscience and energy and mindset. And I don't have a formal or specific pathway to it. It's just been in me since I was a kid. And teaming up with my
Mhm.
brother, it kind of like sparked this feeling, and I started talking about it and raising, my kids this way, and my husband and I went through changes, and all of our clients at Jekyll, that's JEKL, that's our facility, and everyone just started saying,
Mhm.
you need to write this book. You need to write this book. You've got to get it out to the world. And that's kind of, was the inspiration to the science of empowerment and figuring out how I can help the global family, not just the people in our community.
I love that you, like you say, you had that kind of in you
Yeah.
all that time.
Yeah.
And then you started to see how other people were kind of doing what you wanted to do, but you then saw that, okay, there's a way that we can take these methodologies from, say, Olympic athletes and apply it to everyday life. And I love that phrase that you use, show people that they are in the driver's seat of their own lives, essentially.
They really
That is
are.
just, I
Yeah.
think, so, first of all, so true.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were going to say something on that?
Yes, and I think what happens to us as human beings, we're so accustomed to being programmed, and not in a negative way, but just programmed through our life. Our parents, give information,
Mhm.
churches, spirituality, schools, politics. We become this collection of
Mm.
other people's thoughts, and we think they are our own, and we never quite have been taught we are the creator of our thinking. We can actually design the architecture of thought for ourselves and allow it to almost be a gateway into what would make us be the best version of ourselves. And that's kind of how I always have seen life. I just happen to do it through physical activity and now through my book.
Mhm.
But it's amazing when you start to open up that kind of that way of thinking. People are like, I've never really thought about thought. I just think it, right? Throughout
Right.
the whole day. And when you
Mhm.
tell them you are in the power seat, you can choose negative, positive, or neutral. You can choose the energy behind the thought, and it changes every experience. When you apply what is the J3 equals Z, it's the formula within the book. Very simple. When you start to
Mhm.
apply it to everything, it is amazing how your life just it evolves.
I am so intrigued by this specifically because, you said something there around people are not quite aware
Right.
that they should think about thoughts, that should be something that we should be doing. And I think to a small degree, or maybe even a large degree, I'm not quite sure because I'm biased in this,
Mhm.
but in the spiritual community, we often say things like, oh, be the master of your own destiny, or think positive thoughts, etc. But we don't ever give, not don't ever, but it's very seldom that those takeaways come with a game plan. How do you actually choose your thoughts? How do you choose your perspective on things? Um, and
That's
I think for a lot of spiritual leaders out there and spiritual guides, sorry, yeah?
no, I was going to say that's such a beautiful
Oh, we
way.
have a bit of a lag.
Yes, I'm sorry too. There's such a beautiful that's I loved just how you worded that. That is exactly the threading and the alchemy of the science of empowerment. It starts to bring this awareness very deep down. You almost start to realize or remember, and I say this in the book, it's coded in our DNA. We are born into a genius state. We really are, and we forget
Mm,
that. And the science of empowerment is almost like this little knocking at the consciousness and the matrix of the brilliance of this in-house computer, our brain, our thinking machine. And it allows you to tap into it. And part of the beauty of that is to, I always say this, we can recalibrate thought so that we can dissolve negative training, negative patterns, and move them through to positive outcomes. In this book, and I love how you said this too, it is a game plan. When you finish the book, you realize I can do anything. I am
mm.
capable of all things because it is in our birthright process to be capable of all things.
Absolutely. And, I bring this back to my own personal experiences again as well, because I've had a number of clients who say to me, I want to be more positive, or I want to start a business, or I want to do whatever the case may be. And obviously, because I'm sitting on the other side of the desk, I'm going, but you can, because I can see the potential in the person. And they go, yeah, but I don't know where to start. Or, I don't believe you believe that in me, but I don't believe that in myself. And it's beautiful then to see that there is actually somewhere I can point them to and go, well, here's this great book that you absolutely have got to read, because it gives you the roadmap, it gives you the game plan, it takes you from A to B in very, very succinct steps. And that is very much what we need in the world right now, because I often complain that, we learn how to do calculus and we learn how to do all kinds of beautiful things at school, but nobody teaches basic emotional quotient, or how to think, how to change your mindset so that you are able to achieve greatness.
And this isn't just about, mindset, as you said, or throwing, cliches of positive thinking. And they're all very
Mm,
strong modalities out in the world. But the very unique thing is the science of empowerment contains this formula. and it's called the J3 equals E. And the J stands for 5 principles. The 3 stands for negative, positive, neutral, and the E stands for empowerment. So when you run through your 5 principles, awareness, willingness, accountability, critical thinking, and energy, and you choose to put neutral or positive energy behind those 5 principles, and you use that formula again in every interaction, experience, endeavor, you will become empowered, because the emotionality and the training of negative patterns and behaviors start to dissolve, and you become the self-actualized thinking human being. And you can move through these principles in 30 seconds, choose your framework of energy, and it empowers you, because you don't allow outside thinking, outside behaviors, outside pressures and messaging to dictate what type of human being you are choosing to become.
So this is so incredible. And I really wish I'd known you 2 or 3 years ago, because I could have saved myself a lot of time and energy trying to figure this out for myself. But it really is, it's so beautiful the way you've just stated all of that, because it really does apply to every single interaction.
Yes.
And you yourself as a bit of a guinea pig, because of late, over the last sort of 6 months or so, I've really decided to take every single decision I make, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may be, and choose to approach it from an empowered perspective. And I did that because I said, I want to be happy. I want to enjoy my life. And the only way I can do that is to feel as though every decision I made was an empowered one and not a disempowered one.
Yeah, beautiful.
And just to bring home why that is so important, something that I noticed, I was invited out recently to go to a dinner. And like I say, I normally would choose to run through whether or not this is my decision, how it would make me feel, all the, not exactly the same as the principles you stated, but similar enough. And in this particular instance, I didn't do it. And I just went. And I was actually, by the time I woke up the next morning, I was in a foul mood. And I was like, but why am I in such a bad mood? I don't understand. And when I looked at it, I was like, had I made an empowered decision, I still would have gone to the dinner, but the decision would have been mine.
Right.
But I woke up in a foul mood because for the first time in a very long time, I had just gone with the flow, what somebody else had wanted me to do, as opposed to choosing for myself. And it just clicked for me that literally choosing your own path will always make you happy. They feel like you've given your power away to somebody else.
Yeah. And we do that subconsciously all the time, because again, we are products, we are a collection of outside material. We just are. We aren't raised. I mean,
Right.
one of the things I am so driven to do is to get this book as a pilot program in the school system, where say you have a classroom of 25 kids, they decide to take this empowerment class for a semester, they read the book and they discuss it through the lens of the principles, because it will automatically level up their awareness. What are they willing to do? How are they going to hold themselves accountable? The emotion, the drama, the chaos of how we all exist, we won't use that in the classroom because it's critical thinking. It doesn't mean we dismiss emotionality. We can't. We're humans. It's what makes us so beautiful. However,
of course,
we are driven from emotion rather than critical thought. And in between those two places is where the science of empowerment really starts to differentiate empowerment and disempowerment. And then, of course, at the end, you teach the skill of choice of energy, of power seat of choice. Everyone cannot be at positive, thinking and positive behavior and positive choice 24/7. There's too many nuances in life.
Mhm.
We just all went through COVID, but we
Absolutely. Yeah.
certainly, right? We can learn the skill of neutrality. And when you're in that neutral space, moving up to positivity is so simple. It's most of us
Mhm.
exist in this negative, and that again, that doesn't mean this terribly dark negativity, but we kind of reside in a little bit of the top of negativity more than the top of positivity.
Mhm.
It's just the way we're wired, and I want to rewire the architecture of the human race, because we would all be living such a different life if we could understand. Again, we are in the power seat of choice at every moment. The thing that is missing is the skill set to actualize that empowerment. We
Mhm.
just, right? We move from pattern, not from critical thought.
Right. So, okay, I have an observation and maybe a little bit of a hardball question,
Absolutely.
but I feel like you're going to field it anyway. You're absolutely correct. In terms of life, we are very much an amalgam of the programming around us, whether that is the religion we were brought up in, whether that's our parental views, whether that is the school system we were raised in, whether it's just media around us in general, we are very much an amalgam of that.
Yes.
Which then leads me to my slightly hardball question. Do you believe or think that, because I completely agree with you. I mean, I would love to see this book in the school system, not just in the States, but globally, because I think this is
Yes.
exactly what we need.
Yes.
But I wonder if people are ready to take the responsibility, because I do think that as humans, we tend to stay in that, like you say, not deep depression, not deep negativity, but definitely on that sort of just the top level of negativity. And I believe, from again from personal experience, it's because it's easier to stay there than it is to take responsibility for my own emotions,
Yeah.
responses to the world around me. So the essence of my question to you: do you think people are ready for that?
Um, Honest answer, no. That is why I wrote the book.
Mm-hmm.
We need mechanisms to begin to
Mm.
open the awareness. So people start to take in new knowledge, and it's the way that you approach it. And this is the beauty of the
Mm-hmm.
science of empowerment. If you are not ready, but someone suggests just read the book through, it is written in a way that it will
Mm.
start to spark a knowing, almost what I call an ancient knowledge. Again, it's in us. I tell people when they
Mm.
come to me and they read the book and they reach out, and I do life empowerment coaching off of the book, and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't understand. I got overwhelmed. How am I?" And we go into this whole path and we just breathe. And I just simply say, read the book. Things will start to spark. You will be driving down the road, and all of a sudden, where maybe you used to have a little bit of road rage, you'll remember the book. You'll remember, whoa, wait a minute. I'm aware that I used to want to do this. For some reason, now I'm not. Right in that moment is you actually evolving in real time. This doesn't have to be
Ah.
big stretches of evolution. This is about touching the very heart, soul, and matrix of thought, which leads to the connection of knowledge that we all have. I believe at birth, it is slated, it is erased. We come in through these little bodies and it is just erased. And it is our responsibility, our birthright, and our journey to rediscover the genius and the brilliance of this soul's purpose. Not on a religious level, not on a spiritual level. I am talking on a universal level. We are not just here to move through the chaos. We are here to
Mm,
recognize the genius and the brilliance and the beauty of who we are as individuals and as a collective community. So for those people, and I do believe probably the mass population is not quite ready, and that is why I wrote the book, to slowly start to connect with people who are in positions. It could be a pastor or a preacher at a church, a non-denominational church that's open. It could be a very cool guidance counselor or a
mhm,
psychologist at school. It could be a principal where someone recognizes the power of the science of empowerment, takes it in and starts to impart this knowledge, gets the conversations going. And the reason I know this works is we have done it at our neuromuscular training facility. We have worked the principles and the formula with younger athletes. They will go home and start to help unload the dishwasher, make their bed, pick up their laundry, these simple daily routine. And then the parents are like, thank you. And then they're like, you're welcome. It starts to shift the energy. It's amazing what
mm.
happens. So yes, I think, to be honest, it's, there's so many of us out in the world that are trying to awaken um, the
Right.
culture of elevation. This is my contribution, and I'm going to try like heck to give it to the world.
What I absolutely love about what you just said there, Laura, is because I think the whole responsibility thing comes in that there's this mindset. And again, because of the world we live in, where it's instant gratification, people think you have to go from, just, I use this hyperbolically, but an awful person to some Dalai Lama on the top of a mountain in the course of a
Absolutely.
7-day seminar. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
No.
Evolution is
Yeah.
something that happens slowly over time. So I love the fact that you're saying, just read the book and you'll notice something will trigger at the most odd time. And that is you evolving in real time. And then
Yes.
you go, okay, well, that just worked then.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the next time that happens.
Yeah. That's exactly what
And
it
before you
is.
know it, you are.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah,
just I just had a
fantastic.
doctor in the States read the book, and she called me just with tears of joy, and she said, I can do anything. And she's this very educated, on top of her stuff woman. And she's like, I never looked at anything in this way. And I have 17-year-old kids reading it. Now, it's not a book for a 13-year-old unless, they're very much open
Hmm.
already, because it is a thinking person's book. But it is the coolest thing. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. So we have a family at our training facility, and I'll use them as one example. We have thousands. They have two little girls, 7 and 9. They knew I was writing the book because they would hear the talk as we were training in the facility. And Brooklyn came up to me one day and said,
Mhm.
when is your book going to be finished? I can't wait to read it. And I said, it's, going to be out in print in a few months. Well, long story short, her mom and dad bought a book for each of the girls that I signed, and it sits on their bookshelf. And it's their like first collector author book, which was so sweet. The parents bought a
Oh,
copy, and
that's
it
amazing.
moves around the house, and they pick it up, and the parents find a sentence, a paragraph, a verse. And the very cool thing about the book is it has these really unique, I don't know if you can see the book, but it has these takeout bubbles,
Yeah.
and
Yes, yes.
yes, and they're takeaways. So they read the bubble and they discuss it and they bring it down to a level. And these two girls, 7 and 9, work the principles and the formula in school, in their gymnastics, in their athleticism, in their homework, in their chores. This is the beauty and the power of this book. It can be at the smallest of levels all the way up to, I have a Harvard professor, neuroscientist reading the book. It spans the globe, and it expands the opportunity for expansion within our own personal families and communities. It is amazing what it does. It took me 5 years to write the book. Every word I thought about before and after, and the way that I wrote it so that every person will get something empowering out of it.
Laura, I can say unequivocally that it sounds like you have done a phenomenal job, because this is exactly, I mean, a lot of people, myself included in the spiritual community, have been saying for years, we need to get this kind of into the hands of children, because even if we can't change the world as it stands right now, we can prep the next generations that are coming in to do that work and get ready for it, so that when they reach adulthood, they are empowered. You know, they are able to really tackle their emotions and their thought processes so much better.
And very quickly, I really had a middle book to this, which is an anti-bullying book, based off of all of the J3 equals E. And I have a children's book. Now, they're not written yet, but they are stored in my brain. I wrote this book first because I said the adults in the room have to read this book. I have teenagers reading the book that are teaching their parents about elevation, redesigning thought, choosing positivity. It is amazing. But my real passion is to get to the youth, because they need it. Especially going through COVID, there was a lot of disruption, flow of routine of our youth. And to be quite honest, the skill sets that are lacking were just magnified and heartbreaking to me. So I
Yes.
really am in a push to get this out to every human being and ask them to get it out to every human being. Create talks, book clubs, virtual events, just keep bringing knowledge in, because it activates a knowing that's deep within us.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more.
Thank you.
Laura, it has been an honor and a privilege to have this discussion with you today. Seriously, I'm blown away by the work that you're doing. Incredible. And for those who don't know, although by now you should, Laura is a speaker on the Wellness Conference. Very with us. And of course, as always, you can get the link to her talks and a lot of other speakers as well through the link in our bio. But before we let you go, Laura, maybe you'd like to just share with people how to touch with you, where can they purchase your book,
Yes.
and anything else you'd like to share.
Yes. So I believe I sent all the links to my social media, which I'm assuming will be in the interview. You'll
Yep.
let me know that. But please go to my website, www.thescienceofempowerment.com. And for my international readership, there's PDF and ebook download. And for the States, I mail the book there. I don't mail the book out internationally right now because it's only available exclusively from my website. And the reason being at the moment is for each purchase, whether it is a book in the States or it is a PDF or an ebook download version, I offer a free 30-minute life empowerment coaching session from the book. So while you're reading it, if you have a question, if you finished it and you have notes and you want to talk to me, I am here. You just email me. I set up a Zoom and we hang out and we meet and we talk.
Fantastic. So you heard it here. 30-minute free session on purchase of Laura's book.
Yes.
Very exciting. And yes, all the links to Laura's different social media channels are in the description of this video below. So have a look at that and get in touch. Other than that, Laura, thank you so much again for your time. And we look forward to having you back very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Have a great day.
You too. Stay positive.
Thanks. Thank you. Yes.